Hello everyone, my friends, welcome back to Shining Brighter. My name is Nick, and today's topic is a little bit of a mashup of a bunch of different topics, but you see the title, Reaching the Breaking Point, but realizing that you're not alone. And this is, again, from personal experience. This literally just happened to me. And it all kind of came crashing down within a 24-hour period of time, which is really short when you're experiencing it all at once. So I've been doing this for, I think, 10 or 11 months now. And I try to keep making the videos as regularly as possible. I mentioned before that I've been dealing with some health issues that have kind of gotten in the way of that, and I'm trying to get back to a regular schedule here. But even with everything that I've learned, and as much as I've cleared away the old and built myself into a much better, much stronger person, there's still a lot of work to be done, and I'm not afraid to say it because it is what it is. Again, everybody's lives are different, circumstances, environmental factors, so it finally came to a big fiery crash the other day. So I have been out of work since mid-June because of my health issues, and my job stopped paying me at the end of August. Prior to that, I was out the previous summer with knee surgery. Summer is the time when most police officers make their money. The good weather, there's more traffic details, more overtime, more events, things like that. So I had 2 years of missing that time. And then the previous year went through a unnecessarily bad divorce. And while my plan was to leave the police world because it's just too toxic for a number of factors. I wasn't planning to jump without a parachute, so to speak. But unfortunately, life doesn't always go according to your plan. Now, I will have to say that, I spoke my intentions to the universe to leave, and I wanted to be out of there before the summer. I was prepared to be there longer if I needed to be financially, because I'm not stupid, but that's not how it worked out. And in the end, the choice was more or less taken out of my hands. My options were either to retire and get a pension, which is after health insurance, taxes, and my ex-wife getting her share of my pension, which, another topic altogether. It's not even going to leave me with enough money for a mortgage payment. But having said that, I'm grateful to be out of that place. I really am. The level of hostility, toxicity, backstabbing, corruption, hatred, all of it it was just overwhelming. For somebody who in the past 2 years has really come to understand that I have, a much greater sensitivity to energies, especially negative. Walking in there, my skin would crawl, and I just couldn't take it anymore. So, did it go according to plan? No. But I am grateful to be out. Because now, even though I have to figure out how to live, at least I know that I can focus on my health. I can focus on getting better. I am very, very fortunate and grateful that I have a supportive family that can help me, at least for a little while. So there's a lot of bright side to look at. But I will tell you, the day that I had to put in my papers, there was a lot of emotion that all came crashing in at once. And I'm over being a police officer. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, because I have all this respect in the world for police officers, the good ones. I don't think people really understand what's going on in police world these days. The internal stresses are what do most of the good police officers in. That's why you see and have seen in the past year so many good police officers walk away because they just can't stomach it anymore. But when it hit me hard, and it first came in the form of anger. I was in my kitchen and I was just so angry, and I started yelling at the universe. I probably looked very, very silly, and I probably sounded very childish. But I was telling the universe what it could do with itself and what I thought of the kind of world it created. And I kept saying, how is it right that I gave 23 years of honest, loyal, high-level service, maintaining my integrity and holding myself to those higher standards that police officers are supposed to be held. And I was walking away with a meager pension, health issues, all the while the people at the top who put me through so much negativity, why are they walking around with the titles they have that they're not qualified to have, making $250,000, and I'm not saying my anger wasn't justified, and I'm not saying I have to explain it to anybody, but I think it's important that when I do these videos and I share with you, I'm honest and I share, as much as I feel comfortable with about, the raw experience that I had that led me to the lessons that I learned. I was so angry, in fact, that I was very close to start putting my fist through cabinets, and I'm not a violent person by nature. I don't want to be. Why? What's the point in that? But that anger at that moment was so overwhelming. I just felt the need to have some form of an outlet. But thankfully, I've come far enough to realize that all that would have done was hurt me. And why should I hurt myself over somebody else? And when I thought about it later, my anger wasn't about them, because quite honestly, I'm not even giving them a second thought. They don't deserve my energy. They don't deserve me to be angry at myself. They don't deserve anything from me. My anger was just the fact that I've done so much in my life to be a good person, to try to help people, to give people forgiveness and grace even when they don't deserve it. And I couldn't understand, how things could end up the way they did. So, needless to say, I had a very rough night. Of course, it didn't end there, because, I was not realizing it, but I was grieving the loss of 23 years of my life. So the next morning, I was sitting down at my dining room table, and I was getting ready to take my blood pressure. And I have a picture of my dad on the table, and I was looking at it, and I just started talking to him, because I know he hears me and I know he listens. And I just started asking him to please explain all of this to me, to make sense of it, to understand how any of it was right, for all the reasons that I said and more, and just to show me something, because I couldn't fathom it all. And then I went into the kitchen, did a couple things, and then I was sitting down, and there are 2 medical tests that I need, heart related. And I finally got to a cardiology appointment a few days ago that I've been trying to get into since the beginning of July. And then I was told that my first of the tests wouldn't be available till January 20th of next year. And I'm sitting there saying, how is this possible? My life's been on hold since mid-June, and it could be something serious. So a day prior, or 2 days prior, the appointment got moved up till November 7th, because the cardiologist said, hey, he needs to come in sooner. So I was grateful for that. But then, of course, I got hit with everything afterwards. And when I was done talking to my dad and I was sitting there, I got a phone call, and it was the doctor's office, and they said, hey, you're scheduled for October 7th, but November 7th, excuse me, but your doctor wants you in earlier. Be here tomorrow morning at 8:30. And it hit me. It hit me hard. I went into the kitchen, and I had my phone, and I had my playlist open, and I clicked on a song. Again, the band Volbeat that I speak of quite frequently. I seem to resonate really, really highly with their music. And the first song was Maybe I Believe. And I recognized that my dad and God and the universe, they saw me, they heard me. They heard me questioning, everything. And they saw me at my breaking point. And they answered me. They answered me with that phone call, moving my appointment up till this morning, and the other test till next Wednesday. And I broke down. I'm not embarrassed to tell you that I broke down crying. And it's something that I've needed to do for a long time, but for whatever reason, I just haven't been able to. And while I was doing that and feeling bad for all the anger and frustration that I had let loose, and, you know, apologizing and thanking my dad and God and the universe for hearing me, and apologizing for almost losing faith. That song ended and a commercial came on that I've never heard except for at this point. And it said something to the effect of, think of all the times that you've been angry or you've spoken ill to him, and he's turned around and looked at you and forgiven you and given you love and grace. Now it's your turn to turn around and do the same to the people that hurt you. And obviously that was a message about God forgiving and loving you and showing you that he has you, and hoping that you can do the same for other people. And then a few other songs came on. Goodbye Forever, My Job, Follow the Bliss, Be Happy, Die to Live, obviously meaning that I had to let my old self die, my old beliefs, my old pain, let that all die so I could start living my new, much happier life. Followed by Don't Tread on Me. And finally, one of their songs called Fallen, which just cemented the fact that this was a direct message from my dad, because that's what that song is about. The singer's dad who passed away, and how much he missed his dad, but knew his dad was still there watching over him. And that same commercial played a second time during that song, that list of songs, excuse me. How do I not recognize those signs? How do I not recognize that I was heard? How do I not recognize that I am being watched over, and I am lucky, and I am loved? So, once again, recognize the signs when you ask for them. So, this video ran a bit longer than I try to keep them, but I couldn't get this out any quicker because it's so important. So in closing, if you think or you know that you're at your breaking point, let it out. Let it out. Ask for help. Ask for a sign. Ask for whatever, but be smart enough to recognize when it comes, because it's there. You just have to see it. So as always, know your value, know your worth, respect yourselves, and most importantly, just know you're not alone. There are so many good people in this world and beyond that are willing to reach out with a helping hand. You just have to ask for it. So I do truly see you all for who you really are, and I love you all for it. And I hope nothing but the best for you all. I hope you have a beautiful day. Thanks for watching.